I'm Elisa Parker. We're here at the Wild Scenic Film Festival. It is the largest film festival of its kind in the United States. Some people have said the world. We could go with that. That would be good. We've been capturing some of the wildest moments of the festival, and to kind of give you a peek about the essence of our incredible town, both in Nevada City and Grass Valley, and to connect you with the extraordinary people who are both in the films and also creating the films. I'm so excited to have Michelle with me and Corrina. Michelle created the incredible film called Beyond Recognition. And I also want to mention that we are at the Maidu Bark House here in Nevada City, which when we've done Indigenous People Day celebrations in Nevada City, this has been a core part to kick off our celebrations. Beyond Recognition is really around Native Americans, American Indians having their land and space and being recognized. First, the Ohlones, for example, and the Maidu who are here aren't federally recognized. And so that's a whole other part. So can you give us just a little premise, Corrina? Corrina's in the film. And Michelle, can you give us a little just synopsis of the film?
Sure. So I'm Michelle Grace Steinberg, and I'm the filmmaker. And it's basically looking at Corrina's journey as a non-federally recognized Ohlone person to deal with the fact that in the San Francisco Bay Area, there's just been this huge urban sprawl on top of sacred sites, on top of people's ancestral burials. And it's really looking at how can culture and, sacredness be preserved in an urban environment. I think a lot of times when we think of sacred spaces, we think of places that have not yet been developed, and really around the country, not just in California in particular, because there's so many non-federally recognized tribes, but around the country in general, this is an issue faced by tribes in urban areas.
Corrina, having lived in the Bay Area for over a decade, there were things that I didn't even know about, right, with the Ohlone tribe of the Emeryville shopping mall, for example, had been a large burial area for the Ohlone people. Can you tell us about just how this has become such a passion of yours? I mean, it's really, you've been going above and beyond to make sure that space is preserved for the Ohlones.
Well, I think it's my duty to my ancestors and to my grandchildren to preserve spaces that our ancestors had been on since the beginning of time. And so one of the things that we've done over the last 20 years is to really try to do some education with people in the Bay Area about what are sacred places and what are the shell mounds and what are the burial sites of Ohlone people. And I think that one of the problems is that throughout history, there's been an erasure of Ohlone people and our existence, and so many people that come from all over the world to live in the Bay Area don't have a sense that Native people actually live there and continue to live there. And so by doing the shell mound walks and by doing the protests every year at the Emeryville Mall, we've been able to drum up a bunch of people from all different walks of life that actually understand that the ancient burial sites of our ancestors are important to preserve. And how do we stop development like the Emeryville Mall from happening ever again? And so the Land Trust and Beyond Recognition and what we're doing with it is hoping to stave pockets of areas in the Bay Area, because it's all Ohlone land. It's just now has different toppings on it. And how do we get those pieces of land and allow people to have a place where they could actually be in touch with the land? And not just Ohlone people, but people from all over the world. I think there's a disconnect from the land for all human beings right now. And that's something that we all have to figure out if we're going to survive.
What's one of the projects you're doing right now in the Bay Area?
Well, one of the things, it's a big project, is trying to create the Land Trust. Yeah, so it's really trying to figure out how to create a 501c3, how do we get people involved in it, and then working on trying to preserve spaces now. It's not like something that's in the past, because when we look at our burial sites being disturbed, just last week, one of our burial sites was disturbed under a freeway pass, and a homeless man actually unburied one of our ancestors. And so it continues to happen. So it's doing those kind of things. It's working with a cousin of mine's around language revitalization. It's about learning songs. It's about working with Black Lives Matters. It's about having all of those kinds of things really touch all of the different populations that now are in Huichin or Oakland.
Michelle, the film is called Beyond Recognition. There are so many things we could do films about. Why was it so important for you to cover, to feature someone incredible like Corrina, and also just to, look at the areas that we live in and the people that have lived there before there and preserving those?
So I'm not originally from the Bay Area. I'm from the East Coast. And I think that growing up in Washington, D.C., I never had a sense of who would have been the native people to that area. And I think that in moving to California, you know, I've been in the Bay Area for 20 years, and I feel like around me there's just this continual process of gentrification, this continual process of sprawl. And yet I don't think that the people coming there really have that realization, as you said, of the history. And I think we're at this point where it's so important to be taking care of the land and addressing environmental issues. But if we're not looking to the native people who know the land and have caretaken the land for so many years to be the leaders of that, then I think we're really at a loss. And so I actually met Corrina during the occupation of a sacred site in a place called Segura Te, which is in Vallejo, what's now Vallejo, California, in 2011. And so I had the honor to work with her and a committee of other Native people and also non-Native people like myself around protecting that area. And so after that, it became apparent to me that I love cinema, and the media of film would be really useful to getting the word out. And so we did a short film a couple years after that called Buried Voices. And for me, this film, Beyond Recognition, was an opportunity to sort of shape it in a more positive way, because I think a lot of times with documentary, it's really tempting to say, oh, there's these crazy, terrible issues that are going on, and we want you to know about this. But I think for me, it was really important that the women around me from the local Indigenous community are really inspiring and are doing all of these creative things to address these issues. And I think that maybe that perspective is the most important one, is how are people fighting back against these things, and reclaiming culture and reclaiming space in a lot of ways.
My big question I've been asking everybody here at Wild and Scenic this year is, the first is, what is the wildest thing you've done to help make a difference? Okay, Corrina.
I would think that the occupation of Segura Te, 109 days, we had people from all walks of life that stayed on a piece of land, that protected it with their lives, and worked through trying to protect that site. So 15 acres on the Carquinez Strait, my ancestral burial grounds.
Wildest thing you've ever done to make a difference, Michelle?
So I'm going to say that some of those I don't really want to say on camera.
To make a difference, Michelle.
But I would say maybe the film, because the films have been a really grueling process in a lot of ways for all of us. Mm-hmm. And so I think in some ways, though they've been perhaps less wild than other things I've done, they've maybe been more deliberate and made more of a difference,
okay.
I hope.
And if you can complete the statement, and you could tell that person watching right now, complete the statement, I am wild for.
You can go first again.
I am wild for peace.
I am wild for justice.
Nice. The film is called Beyond Recognition. It is screening here at the 13th Annual Wild and Scenic Film Festival. How can folks go to get in touch with you, Corrina, and the work that you're doing?
Right now, you can contact me via my email at shellmoundwalk@yahoo.com. And our website will be up really shortly. If you send me an email, I'll respond to it, put you on our list, and once the website is up, I'll send out a blast.
And the film website, which also links to Corrina's website, is beyondrecognitionfilm.com.